Hey, this is Matt here with my knee-jerk reaction to Blade Runner 2049. Now, Matt from the podcast, he and I saw it together, but we drove separately, so he is not going to be in this one. So these are my opinions, not his. But yeah, first, just want to say I'm sorry for the vertical video, but I'm in my car and I'm driving, and this is what you got, so sorry. Okay, so I am a big fan of Ridley Scott's original film. I definitely think that it's held up better than most movies of its time, because let's face it, it might be the most beautiful film ever made. The visuals are stunning and really unparalleled. And no matter what you say about the movie, no one can really argue that. If you told me you didn't like the film or that it was too slow, I get it. I really get it. It's not for everyone. I really like slow burn sci-fi, but you can't say that it's not an aesthetically pleasing film, because it is. And if you say otherwise, you're a liar, or you don't know what you're talking about. But this is the new one. This isn't the original. So first of all, let me just say we're going to do spoilers on this, because there's no way to talk about my issues with the film without mentioning spoilers. So if you don't want a spoiler-filled review, go elsewhere. Sorry. Okay, so the new film from the director of Arrival, starring Ryan Gosling, is a good film. It's a very good film. I've read reviews that say it's the best sci-fi film in years. That's not true. It's good. It's very good. It's better than most, but it's definitely not the best. Deakins, who shot the film, Roger Deakins, did a fantastic job. This movie is beautiful. It's nothing like the original. It's its own thing, but it still has the feeling of the original film. So it was a nice way of him not trying to copy a 36-year-old sci-fi film, but basically saying, I'm going to do my own thing, but it's going to feel like the original did. And I think he did a really good job. I will say this, there are a couple of shots in the film with from the original, where they show Sean Young from the original, and you really got to see the anamorphic look of the original, and I do miss the anamorphic look where you have the elongated bokeh. I do miss that, but again, this is its own thing. The visual effects are very good. There's not really one effect where you just kind of say, nah, that doesn't look real. It's fantastic. The music is great. I wouldn't be surprised if this gets nominated for Best Original Score. It'll probably get nominated for sound mixing, and I'd be surprised if Deakins didn't win for cinematography. It'll either go to this or Dunkirk, probably. But a movie's more than just pretty pictures, unless you're watching, Baraka or something. All the actors in this did a fine job. Baby Goose, Ryan Gosling, was good. He emoted when he had to, but I think most of the time they were just trying to go for a character who's a little more stoic, I think. Jared Leto is great. I just wish he had been in more of the film, because he's in 2 scenes. He's legitimately in 2, maybe 3, but yeah, he's not in much of the movie at all. So it's kind of confusing that he's the one out, on all the talk shows talking about the film, because he's barely in it. Harrison Ford also, just like I said on the podcast a couple weeks ago, I said he'd probably be in like 30-40 minutes of the movie. That's true. He doesn't show up until very late, and he's in it. I did predict that he would die, and I was wrong. So yeah, spoilers. He lives. However, I did on our podcast, I said, hold on. However, on our podcast, I also said, just watch. They, in the trailers recently, they've been really doubling down on the idea of the future of the species. And I said, well, it's going to turn out that replicants can have kids. And that's what the crux of the film is going to be. And guess what? I was right. I don't know if the marketing has gotten so bad on most films that they really do just give everything away, or I've just seen so many movies that I'm able to kind of prognosticate them. But yeah, this movie went exactly where I thought it was going to go, and I felt like I was always an hour and a half ahead of the film, which made the film feel a little way too long, to be honest, because while I was waiting for characters to catch up with me, I was just saying, okay, when are we going to get this information out? When are we going to get this information out? So yeah, the whole thing, the movie starts when the very first scene of the movie, Ryan Gosling playing a Blade Runner, who we know tells everyone he is a replicant. He doesn't even have a name. He goes to retire Dave Bautista, who I wish had been in more of the movie because he was really, really good. But he goes to retire Dave Bautista, and Dave Bautista says, "You've never seen a miracle." Okay, you're talking about kids. You're talking about the miracle of birth. And then a couple scenes later, we find that there was a body that was buried, and it had died in childbirth. And surprise, surprise, it was a replicant. So you already know where this movie's going. And then you find out, an hour later, surprise, surprise, Deckard's the father. Can you guess who the mother was? Yep, it was Sean Young, Rachel. So I felt ahead of the film. And that was me most of the movie. However, the movie also felt a little too short because they introduced like 3 million ideas that were all great and they barely scratched the surface of. When Gosling is trying to find the kid, he goes to an orphanage and he walks into this, post-apocalyptic Mad Max Thunderdome kind of hellscape of a building, and there are hundreds of kids used as slave labor to tear apart old technology for Morgan from The Walking Dead. Okay, great. So how do they get there? Who are these kids? Where do they go? That'd be really interesting, right? Well, never mentioned again, right? They talk to a person who puts memories into replicants. She creates them. Okay. That sounds kind of interesting. What happens if she well, we're not going to talk about that. Very late in the film, very late, like last act kind of late, they introduce the notion that there is a replicant underground, and they're banding together, and they want to make sure they have the child safe because it's proof that they're evolving and that they are more human than human, and they're going to have their time and they're going to uprise. That's really interesting, and it's brought up once, literally once. They never talk about it again. I guess they're waiting for the next movie or whatever. But guys, we got to stop doing that. We need to focus on make a good movie, and then if that movie is good and people want another one, make another one. But don't plan an extended universe. It is ruining. It's ruining cinema right now. Don't plan 3 movies ahead. Please just don't. Marvel got away with it, but not everyone can. Okay, so now I'll put that back down. Okay, so this is where the movie gets frustrating to me, because they keep talking about once people know about replicants having a baby, the whole world will change. Okay, how? Don't you understand there will be war? Why? We have to make sure no one finds out about this baby. It'll change everything. How? Constantly brought up, nothing explained. Again, it feels, this whole movie feels surface level. The only thing that gets a little deeper is when they talk about what it means to be human, what it means to kind of have a soul or whatever. And the only way it's done, it's not even with the replicants. It's with Ryan Gosling's hologram girlfriend, who's the best character in the movie because she has something to yearn for. She wants something. It's beautiful. And that's the only character that really has an arc. She has something to lose because she can be deactivated. So that's compelling. And probably the best scene in the whole movie. She wants to be with Ryan because she genuinely loves his character. So what they do is she hires a prostitute, and she kind of projects herself over the prostitute, and you see this kind of double image while the prostitute and Ryan Gosling are together, and it is beautiful, and it's touching, and it's fantastic. Best scene in the movie. The movie could have been about her and him and nothing else, no replicants, and I would have been happier with it, and I think it would have said more. It's frustrating because there are so many good ideas, and they just they seem to just instantly abandon all of them. They just bring it up and they never go into it, which, you know, isn't what sci-fi is supposed to do. Sci-fi is supposed to get into things. So yeah, I think that's my main issue with the film, is that it doesn't go far enough. I wish it would have been a little more thorough. And also, they do a little switcheroo where they kind of set it up that Ryan Gosling is Deckard's kid. Then it turns out it's not. Okay, that's a nice switch, but it's also at the detriment for his character, because that means everything he's gone through, everything he feels, is nullified. He no longer has a drive to do anything, because now he knows his memories are fake, they're not his, and he's back to where he was. It just negated his entire arc, and that was done for the sake of a twist. And I think that if the movie had been a little smarter about revealing the idea that replicants can have children, if they hadn't shown their hands so early in the film, you wouldn't have needed a twist. So yeah, it's not a bad movie. Okay, I know I'm complaining about it, but it just feels like wasted potential. It's not a bad film at all. If I had to give this a score, like a letter grade, it would be a B-. I know I asked Matt, and he said he would give it a B+. Sorry guys, I'm driving right into the sun, so that's the blown out face. I apologize. But yeah, if I had to give it a score, it would be a B+, or B-. Matt would give it a B+. So let's just call it a B. It's good, better than most. But if you see a review that says it's the best science fiction film of all time or whatever, it's not true. I'll put it this way. 2 years from now, if someone says, hey, you feel like watching Blade Runner? They're not going to be talking about Blade Runner 2049. They're going to be talking about the original. This is very good, but it's not life-changing. So yeah, I'd like to see more movies like this, because at least it has ideas, and it's not dumb. It just, you know, it stumbles a bit. I would have loved for this to have gone to pick, like, if they had picked like 2 ideas and run with that instead of 13. But, you know, I guess we'll take what we can get now. But yeah, it's good. Go see it, and I'm gonna turn this off before I get into an accident. So thanks for watching, and see ya.